And the manager just says, what's going on here? And this woman said, she won't let us sit down. We want to go and sit down. And I said, but Mr. Batten, that was his name, Batten. I said, it's Hitchcock.
For decades, Carol Burnett made America feel safe. Her laughter brought families together. Her warmth felt real, and her comedy never relied on cruelty to shine. On The Carol Burnett Show, she created a world where kindness mattered and humor healed. To the public, she seemed unbreakable, a woman whose grace could never crack. But behind that smile lived truths she rarely shared. In her later years, Carol admitted something that stunned even her closest friends. There were men she never forgave. Men whose words humiliated her, whose power diminished her, and whose betrayal left scars she carried in silence. This isn't a story about anger or revenge. It's about dignity, boundaries, and one man who crossed a line so deeply, Carol Burnett truly hated him more than anyone. The first name on that private list stunned nearly everyone who heard it: Marlon Brando. By the early 1970s, Marlon Brando was no longer just an actor. After The Godfather, he was a force of nature, a man whose reputation convinced him he could say anything without consequence. In the summer of 1972, Carol Burnett was asleep in her home when her housekeeper shook her awake. The phone had been ringing repeatedly, refusing to stop. Half asleep, Carol answered. A slow, confident voice greeted her. "Carol, this is Marlon Brando. I've been watching you." At first, she laughed, assuming it was a prank. Hollywood thrived on impressions, and Brando was famous for mischief. But then his tone changed. He told her she would be even better if she loosened up, like actresses he had spent time with. It wasn't admiration. It was a loaded statement, wrapped in entitlement. Carol ended the call politely, but her hands shook after she hung up. The next morning, the situation grew worse. A reporter from The Hollywood Reporter contacted her publicist, saying Brando had spoken about Carol late at night, praising her femininity. Someone had leaked it. When asked publicly, Brando smirked and dismissed her reaction. "She took it too seriously," he said. "Comedians are sensitive women." That was the moment something shifted inside Carol Burnett. She realized she wasn't being admired, she was being reduced. She later told a friend, "I felt small, and I've spent my whole life fighting not to feel small." From that day on, she made a rule that never changed. If Marlon Brando was attending an event, she wouldn't be there. She kept that rule for the next 30 years. The next betrayal came wrapped in charm and elegance, delivered by a man the world believed incapable of cruelty: Cary Grant. In 1968, at a lavish gala at the Beverly Hilton, Hollywood gathered to celebrate its royalty. Cary Grant sat at the center table, receiving a Lifetime Achievement Award. A director nearby smiled and said, "Cary, you've seen Carol's show. She's got the whole country laughing." Grant didn't pause. Loud enough for several tables to hear, he replied, "Laughing at what? Waving her arms around, making faces? I don't understand why people find that appealing." Carol froze. She had faced critics before, but this wasn't criticism. It was dismissal. As she turned away, Grant leaned toward Elizabeth Taylor and delivered the line that sealed his place in Carol's memory forever. "She's not a real actress, just a housewife who got lucky." It was cruelty disguised as sophistication. Carol didn't respond. She didn't need to. Hollywood talked about that moment for months. Later, she explained quietly, "I didn't hate him for disliking my comedy. I hated that he chose to humiliate me." When Paramount later offered her a film opposite Cary Grant, she refused instantly. Every time her team tried to persuade her, she gave the same answer: "I won't work with a man who belittles women." Grant never apologized. Carol never softened. The third name on her list belonged to someone she never even shared a stage with: Lorne Michaels. In 1975, Saturday Night Live premiered on NBC,
and critics everywhere said the same thing. If anyone deserved to host that stage, it was Carol Burnett. But behind closed doors, the idea was crushed. During a private pitch meeting, someone suggested her name. Lorne Michaels leaned back and shook his head. "Not her," he said. "She's the face of old television, over my dead body." He went further. "Her kind of comedy makes us look outdated. SNL isn't a retirement home." The word spread quickly through the building and reached Carol within days. She didn't confront him. She didn't demand an apology. She simply went quiet. Later, she said privately, "I spent my whole life opening doors for women in comedy. He slammed one shut without even meeting me." Over the years, rejection followed her. NBC repeatedly considered her for anniversary specials, but Lorne Michaels always shut it down. Not relevant, not funny. In 2023, when asked about never hosting Saturday Night Live, Carol Burnett simply smiled. "They didn't need me," she said, "and I learned I didn't need them either." A deeper betrayal came from Harvey Corman, her trusted partner on The Carol Burnett Show. During a 1974 rehearsal at Studio 33, a lighting error triggered his outburst. "I'm tired of cleaning up her mistakes," he snapped about Carol. When she confronted him, jealousy spilled out. Though he later apologized, Carol admitted to Vicki Lawrence, forgiving him didn't fix what broke. The final betrayal came from the most painful place of all, her own home, Joe Hamilton. To the public, Joe Hamilton was Carol Burnett's husband and producer. Behind the scenes, he was reshaping her legacy. In 1982, her lawyer discovered that Joe had created Hamilton Productions and claimed spin-offs from her work, including Mama's Family, without listing Carol as creator. When confronted at CBS, he said, "You're the talent, I'm the brain." The marriage collapsed soon after. Their divorce became a bitter legal fight over her work. When Joe Hamilton died in 1991, Carol sent only white flowers and a note wishing him peace. Carol Burnett made the world laugh, but behind the curtain, she carried scars few ever saw. 5 men, 5 betrayals, each one teaching her the same lesson. Grace does not mean silence, kindness does not mean weakness, and forgiveness does not always mean forgetting. After everything you've heard, which betrayal do you think cut her the deepest? If you want more hidden truths from Hollywood's greatest legends, like, subscribe, and share your thoughts below. Because behind every smile, there is always a story waiting to be told. Thanks for watching.